Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk Careers with Sara. It is Wednesday, Independence Day, July 4. How did you enjoy today? Did you have a barbecue? Did you go anywhere to do anything fun? Share with me your experiences for what you did, any activities you did today that you would like to share on my Facebook page, Let's Talk Careers with Sara. I'm very glad that you are here with me listening to my show on Armed Radio. So I want to emphasize about resumes today. When you have an outdated resume that is not updated, you run the risk of not being able to keep pace with your job hunting or being unprepared for interviews. So keep your resume up to date. If you would like to book a call with me to discuss about your resume, just message me on Facebook, Let's Talk Careers with Sara, and I'll get back to you. Believe me, a resume is a good investment for any job seeker. So choose the best resume writer for you. Don't assume this is an expense because it is not. And you need to get your resume to get hired. And if you're looking for a new job, just message me on Facebook, Let's Talk Careers with Sara, to learn about ways to write your resume. And I will just explain to you how the resume is going to be worked on. And also today I want to talk about LinkedIn profile. So the LinkedIn profile is the most important profile than your resume, believe me. And you need to get your profile revamped. Just start today. Don't wait for any time to start doing it. And let's be real. Do you want to be successful in your job search? You have to contact me today on Let's Talk Careers with Sara to discuss about this. So the resume has several components. As I discussed before in my previous shows, you need to have a contact. That means your name, your full name, your email, your address, your telephone number. That's the first category, I call it. And then there's a second category, is about your summary of qualifications, why you are qualified, how many years of experience do you have, what are the qualifications that you think might be fit for the job that you want to include in your resume. Then the third category is high competencies. What are your skills? Majority I put about from 12 to 16 skills that you have to have. And then the fourth category is professional experience. What are your experiences in this particular job that you're applying for that can relate to your experience before? And then the last category is education. All of these components can be placed not necessarily how I put it right now. It can be placed anywhere you want it. Education has to be either from the beginning or at the end, not in the middle. And then some of the qualifications has to be first and not last. And your professional experience has to be chronological order from recent employment till last. Now, I want to discuss about interviews. Assuming you have a resume all done, you hired the resume writer, professional writer who had done your resume. I do not recommend to do it yourself because you don't know what a hiring manager is looking for. I, as an HR recruiter, I've seen dozens of resumes and I know which will attract the hiring manager, which will attract the directors, which will attract the managers that will want to hire you. Most of the time when I write resumes, people are just really happy and they think they are just got $1 million resume. So having a resume that really show your professionalism is the first thing you want to show as an impression. You don't want people to think anything else about you. So now Let's say you have your resume done, your cover letter done, and now you have interviews. Now let's say this, I'm giving a scenario whether you are looking for a job or you lost a job. So if you lost your job, now what, right? So be prepared when you are called for an interview. You will be asked behavior-based interview questions. So hiring managers are getting smart. They want to hire the best of the best. So you need to be prepared. When you are going to be called for an interview, they might not ask you questions that you hear all the time. They might ask you specific behavior-based interview questions, and those questions are becoming increasingly common as companies look for better ways to hire a high-quality candidate amid the flood of applications that they receive. Companies look for three parts when they ask for behavior questions. The situation leading up to your action, that's the first thing. The second thing, the actions you took. And the last thing they want to see is the results of your actions. Always remember to include all three parts so that your interviewers have a strong understanding of the situation, your actions, and the positive results of your actions. If you don't have a work-related example, you can use a work-appropriate example. For example, let me give you an example. When you were a team captain of your softball team, this is just an example, or when you served as a music director for an organization. Right? I'm just throwing out some examples that might happen. So here are the three questions you might be asked. First one is, give me a specific example of when you had to start a task without being asked. And the second question might be, tell me about a time when you successfully worked with a difficult coworker to complete a task. And another question might be, provide a specific example of a time you had to juggle multiple projects simultaneously. And tell me a time you had to switch from one project to another without warning. You can be asked also, such as, describe a time when you succeeded at work because of your ability to communicate. Communication is a big thing. And they can ask you another one is, give me an example of a time when you caught a coworker doing something illegal. Did it ever happen to you? If not, I know what to say. Next one, describe an instance where you made a significant mistake. You've been asked now about the mistake. What are you going to do? So I'm going to go over it with these questions so you will know what to answer. Believe me, I want you to get the job. And if you happen to have an interview and you really didn't get a job and you think you know why, shoot me a message on Facebook. Let's Talk Careers with Sara. Now, I'm going to go over these questions in a moment. So I want you to stay tuned with me. And I want you, in the meantime, I want to hear your success stories for being hired. And if you do have a question that you are struggling in a job search, shoot me a message on Let's Talk Careers with Sara and I'll discuss it on my show. And I'm going to tell you that's one thing. Success happens when you have help. Never do it alone. Now, this type of questions that I'm asking for you right now, and I'm giving you the answers, are all in my group, Let's Talk Careers Inner Circle, on Facebook. So just request to enter the group. It's free at no charge. This is a group meant for listeners who are listening to my show and also for members who are looking for jobs and looking for advice it's like a support group. So in my group, Let's Talk Careers Inner Circle, I have mentioned about the behavior-based interview questions. So I will give you an answer for a question that will ask you, for example, give me a specific example of when you had to start a task without being asked. For this question, focus on an experience where your initiative made the difference between a significant success and a harmful failure in your company. For example, Describe how you recently finished your weekly tasks early, so you started and finished the monthly report before its deadline. Unexpectedly, your supervisor needed the monthly report early for an important meeting with the COO, Chief Operation Officer. And since your initiative saved him from scrambling to get the report finished, you received a written thank you note from your supervisor because he was able to immediately provide the COO with the requested info. Now, this is one example. However, there are many. And if you stumble on this question and don't know what to say, message me on Facebook, Let's Talk Careers with Sara. Now, let's go to the next question. They might ask you, tell me about a time you successfully worked with a difficult coworker to complete a task. Remember, this behavior-based interview question is not going to be any easier. Everyone has worked with a difficult coworker. Let's admit it. So impress your interviewers by describing how you use teamwork to successfully complete the task while remaining professional. Feel free to talk about learning your coworker's strengths and weaknesses and respecting the differences in the work styles or skill levels between your coworkers and you. And this kind of showcasing of your personality, impress while you can. Now let's go to the next question. Provide specific examples of time you had to struggle multiple projects simultaneously. Managing multiple tasks has always been and will always be essential to success in any position. For this question, describe how you managed multiple projects, tasks, duties of differing levels of priorities. Assuming you are in a sales or customer service position, for example, right? So describe how you picked up 2 national advertisements clients while your coworkers was on maternity leave. In order to balance these new clients with your existing clients, you came in an hour early each morning to prioritize your task for the day and ensure that all of your clients' needs are met. As a result, both of your temporary clients agreed to extend their contract with your company because of the excellent service they received from you. And remember, knowing what skills employers are looking for can help you answer these questions. And I want to emphasize, if you get a question or you are struggling with this behavior-based interview questions, message me on Facebook, Let's Talk Careers Inner Circle. Don't have a Facebook? Email me, Let's Talk Careers with Sara at gmail.com. I will answer your questions and book with you a free session of consultation so we can go over with your goals and your questions that you have. Next question. Tell me about a time you had to switch from one project to another without warning. Being adaptable is important, especially as more companies expect their employees to perform duties outside of their usual responsibilities. For this question, show how you effectively moved from project to project and completed your current project successfully. Bear with me, there are more answers to the questions that we asked before. Next, describe a time when you succeeded at work because of your ability to communicate. Now listen to me. Communication is really important. Really, really important. Because when you are asked to do something and you are not able to perform it when you initially said okay, you need to communicate it without offense. You need to state and admit what you are able to do and what you are not able to do. You're running late to work, contact somebody, call somebody, email somebody to deliver the message to the manager. Do not hesitate. Communication is the key. Don't assume you make it on time if you know you're going to be late. Don't assume you're going to be okay if you have a fever today and tomorrow you think you're going to be fine. Don't assume. Call and say, I'm not feeling well. If I do feel well, I'll come in the morning. If not, find a coverage for me. Communication is the key. Seriously, do not ignore it. Although communication-related questions can be redundant, since interviewers will review your communication skills firsthand, it's important to provide them with a specific example of how your written and oral communication abilities helped you succeed at work. Remember to describe how you communicated effectively by describing the results of your actions. This may be a good time to talk about commendations on any reports or meetings you led. Now let's move on to the next one. I'm very, very big about communications, and especially those hiring managers who are looking for a cover letter. They don't need your cover letter initially, but they're asking for one reason. They're asking to review your communication skills. Now, the next question is very, very something that is serious, and you have to be very, very particular about this question. Give me an example of a time when you caught a coworker doing something illegal. Be careful of this question. Nearly all candidates know that if you say anything besides "I reported my coworker's behavior to my supervisor immediately," your interviewers will assume that you are untrustworthy or negligent. Answer this question honestly and choose an example where you either confronted your coworker on this behavior or reported his or her behavior to your supervisor. Good examples of results may include how your actions promoted increased awareness of company policies, improved workplace safety, and decreased lost revenues. Here is a real story. I sat on my coworker's desk and opened a drawer and saw cognac. I understand that it must be her because she acted strangely lately and was stressed out. Immediately, I took a picture and showed to my supervisor and HR to investigate and take actions because it is not safe to work with someone who is drinking while at work. The situation was rectified and HR took it from there. So, seriously, you cannot just keep it between you and the person. This shows you are not trustworthy. So, the best thing to do is just to report it. Like you would report child abuse. You would report someone who is sick and you call 911. Same thing with that. It's also important. It's not because nobody is harmed. Here is another question, and I think it's the last questions that I'm going to go over for tonight. Describe an instant when you made a significant mistake. This one of the questions is one of the hardest to answer. Oftentimes, candidates do one of two things. They wimp out and say what they haven't meant a significant mistake, which is never true, or provide such a horrendous example that they are immediately removed from consideration. To answer this question successfully, provide an example of a moderate mistake, what you did after you realized you made a mistake, and the result of your actions to correct your error. For example, describe how you overlooked an important project deadline and upon realizing your error, contacted your supervisor to develop a solution to the problem. After deciding that the best solution was to work all night to meet the deadline, you spent 12 hours working on the project. As a result, you made the deadline. And after recuperating from your all-nighter, identified several procedures to ensure that this oversight would not happen in the future. Although your supervisor was initially upset, he thanked you for taking responsibility for your actions and ultimately making the deadline. Remember, your body language will also be an important factor in your interview. So good luck in answering all of these questions. And if you have missed them before and you would like to go back, you can always go to my group, Let's Talk Careers Inner Circle, and check those questions there. And I also will have the recording of this show on my page, Let's Talk Careers with Sarah, so you will have them in your, so you can take notes in there. Now, I want to say something more important. There is good news for job seekers. Every employer wants to hire people who will make a difference. This fact, combined with a strengthening economy, means that now is an excellent time for job seekers as long as you approach the job search strategically. The job hunt can be a stressful experience. Everyone has an opinion about where you need to look, when you need to apply, and what you need to do to get the offer. However, most of these opinions are completely unsupported by the facts. I believe that the modern job seeker deserves better. Don't you agree? Don't you agree that you deserve better? Better benefits, better salary? So here is my goal to educate you, to help you gain a better understanding of what actually goes on in the work of hiring. So you can book with me on Facebook, Let's Talk Careers with Sara, or you can email me, Let's Talk Careers with Sara at gmail.com, and I will go over with you your career goals so you will have more or less understanding on your career path. Now, this time of the year is significant for a successful job hunt. Now, are you open to explore a new industry or looking to land a job quickly? If you are ready to make a move now, you can improve your chance of getting hired by targeting the industries that are consistently hiring, such as transportation, hospitality, beverage and food, healthcare, education, retail, technology, media, pharmaceuticals, financial, and although the industries with the most jobs remain proportionately the same regardless of season, time of year plays a noteworthy role in determining the likelihood that you will land a job. In addition to considering targeting industries, you may want to target the best time of year to apply. Research suggests that spring and summer are ideal seasons for the job hunt, as approximately 60% of all hires for the year are made for the spring and summer months. So if you go for a job hunt or a job board that you are going to apply, let's say Indeed.com if you're in the US, and you have a job and you are going to send your resume, you will get a call immediately, okay? Because this is the hiring season. If you are looking for a job to be a teacher, this is the hiring season for September. If you are applying a job for, for a director position, this is now the marketing, the sales, the transportation, the whatever the industry is. They are looking for you, the right candidate. So don't really think you are not worthy of it. Now, seems easy, right? So what's the secret? So it's starting to seem pretty easy to get a job, right? And it may seem like you all need to do is find an opening in a great industry during the hiring season. Job seekers should know, however, that more than half of all available jobs are not being actively advertised. Secret jobs exist in virtually every industry. Secret jobs are prevalent across all industries, although some industries have more secret jobs than others. So, secret jobs can be computer services, technology, gaming, business services, education, agriculture, manufacturing, real estate, college or universities, engineering, financial, media, transportation, government, staffing, customer service, or hospitality. So how do you get that into consideration with those secret jobs? You basically have to have a connection. And one of the connections that you can have is getting HR recruiter or entering an agency, going to an agency and applying for jobs. That's what you need to do. There are some companies who do not publish because they don't have the budget to publish. However, they are looking for you. They need someone like you because you are doing what you are doing and it's great. So stop wondering what you can do without your job searching. Now, I want to explain that just some people hate their jobs, okay? And your job is a waste of your life. If you hate your job, there was a video on Facebook that I saw that a man explaining about, I forgot the name of the video. He was explaining about that you live up to 20 years, and then when you turn 20, you start working until you're 65. All of those years that you work until 65, then you retire and you have only 15 years more to live to enjoy your retirement. Is this what you are working for? You need to apply for jobs that you love. You love, and love. And perhaps you think they don't pay enough for this kind of job. There are ways to make money more than what you think. I can help you with that. I've dealt with so many candidates who told me the same thing, who have the same mindset that I don't get paid enough. Believe me, if you really want to know how you can get paid more, you will need to discuss with a career coach, with a child recruiter, with someone who can help you, guide you through the career path. There's no one there is going to do it for you unless there's an expert who is dealing with this every single day. So you can really have a talk with me on Facebook, Let's Talk Careers with Sarah, or join my group, Let's Talk Careers Inner Circle, and we can discuss that option. Now, I want to emphasize on communication. Communication is a big thing. Don't undervalue it. Lots of opportunities are missed because of miscommunication. And I'm very big of follow-ups. You send a resume. Now, I don't recommend to send to 50 resumes because how are you going to follow up with each HR? It's not going to happen. So you send a resume, you follow up on the same day to make sure they received it, because that's what I did for a candidate. I really worked with her one-on-one, and I emailed the resume to a company and I called them. I found their number online, went on Google, typed their phone number, their name, and I got their phone number. I called and I said, I just sent a resume. I just want to confirm that you have received it. And if they did, great. Although on the internet it says that it takes them about 24 to 48 hours for someone to call you back or for someone to respond to you, this company has called on the same day within 2 hours. No, there was no way to wait for 24 to 48 hours. That time has been saved and not wasted. Communication is the key. You don't know how much I can emphasize it on and on. It is just really has a lot to do about how you're communicating. And it's not happened the first time. It happens all the time. Maybe we're not realizing it when we speak to people, when we communicate with our children, when we communicate with our friends, when we communicate with our relatives, with our guests, with strangers. Communication is the key. Don't undervalue it. I know why you might have feelings about your current job. And there are 5 common fears that job seekers have. I will say number 1 is not finding a job. And number 2 is working in a job that doesn't require a degree. How many of you work in that kind of category? And number 3 is working for a terrible boss. Can you imagine going to work because you have no choice? You just have a terrible boss yelling at you, never happy, never satisfied. And number 4, failing in the interview. Right? You go interview one after another and nobody is, like, everybody's turned off. Nobody is calling you anymore. And the last thing is poor salary negotiation. So I know what it's like to go through by feeling you are not satisfied, you are not happy with your job. I just want to say that if you missed my shows, you can always go back to Let's Talk Careers with Sarah on Facebook, and you can get the recording from my previous shows and just go through some strategies that I went through. And if you are interested to join my group, Let's Talk Careers Inner Circle, you can join. It's free, no charge. You can communicate with the members. You can post the questions, and I can personally answer you any questions that you would like in that group. So now I want to discuss about a question that popped up that refers to a job offer. So here it says, I was given an official job offer. The letter stated that if I met the conditions of the job offer, and it listed the conditions, that the offer would be finalized. I completed the conditions and the local hiring manager scheduled my start date. I put in 2 weeks notice in my old job. 2 days before my start date, they revoked my offer, stating that I was not rehirable. I worked for a company owned by this company almost 10 years ago, but I disclosed that on my application. They said that um, they said that the company is at will employer, so they didn't have to honor anything stated in the job offer letter. Do I have any legal recourse? I have no job at all now. Thank you. So for this kind of questions, I'm very sorry to hear this. Such stories about rescinded or revoked job offers are too common nowadays. And there was a particular nasty one on PBS NewsHour column that was called, I think, "Are Disappearing Job Offers a New Trend?" And there's discussed the problem before, but it's such a tragic trend that we need to keep talking about it. You should seek counsel from a good lawyer that specializes in employment law. However, my thoughts with the proviso that this is, of course, not legal advice. So, if you work in at-will state, the employer may be able to fire you for any reason or no reason at any time. What that implies, though, you should check with a lawyer about your specific case, is that they could complete the hire and fire you the same day. So you see the problem. Now let's get back to what is stated. If you were given an official conditional job offer, while I give credit for making sure that you have the offer in writing, the word conditional is key. That left the door open for them to not make the hire after all. So here's where it may get complicated legally, and why you need a lawyer. So let's say, did you meet the conditions, right? You believe you met all the conditions to lift the contingency, but apparently they don't agree, or they don't care. What you should have done before quitting your old job was get a written confirmation from a new employer that you had in fact met the conditions. This could be very helpful if you litigated the matter. And of course, in at-will state, this may be a moot point, but it's up to you to take all reasonable precautions to protect yourself. And I can't emphasize this enough. Never quit your job unless you are absolutely sure the new job is locked up. Now, the next thing is, did the hiring manager's actions suggest you met the conditions? The hiring manager scheduled your start date, which seems to imply he agrees you met the necessary conditions. A good lawyer might be able to do something with that. Now, did the employer know you were going to quit another job? Additionally, there is the matter of whether you will now suffer because the promise of a job was broken, and whether that hiring manager knew that you would be hurt by his action because his offer prompted you to quit another job. Retired employment attorney Lawrence Barty can explain this. Now, this lawyer says a person who reasonably acts in reliance upon a promise and then suffers detrimentally because the promise is broken has a cause of action called promissory estoppel. The promisor is stopped from rescinding the promise if the promisor knew or had reason to know that the promisee would rely upon the promise to the promisee's detriment. That is, if you inform the new employer that you were going to quit your old job and lose your income because you were relying on their job offer, then an attorney may be able to make a case for you. And it continues, the lawyer continues, the promisee in such a case, once the proof has been accepted, is entitled to be made whole. For example, if A quits his job and then he is left without work for a period until he finds comparable employment, A is entitled to reliance damages in an account equal to the lost wages and benefits. Too often job seekers are so thrilled at a new job offer and they make assumptions that move too quickly. That's understandable, but when the potential consequences of making a mistake are huge and losing your income is a huge risk, then it's time to slow down and be extra careful about actions you take, like quitting your old job. This is such an important topic that we have to address because this happens in real life. And the critical tip-off in your story is your first sentence. The offer was conditional. But please don't misunderstand my position on this. Okay, while you bear some responsibility, employers who rescind offers so cavalierly are irresponsible. The tip-off about this employer was in what they said to you. They said they didn't have to honor anything stated in the job offer letter. While the company's lawyers might be able to argue it did nothing illegal, its behavior is unacceptable and reprehensible. Now, as you see, it's complicated, and that's why a qualified attorney is your best bet. And I'm sure you'd rather not spend money on a lawyer, but I think the price of an initial consultation is well worth it, since we're talking about the loss of your salary. If I were in this person's position, I would talk to a lawyer immediately. And even if this does not turn into a court case, a stern, nasty ground from a potent lawyer could result in a cash settlement from the employer. And now I can just tell you a word to HR managers. Rescinding a job offer is really a lousy thing to do, and explaining it away by citing your freedom to fire at will is cheesy. If your integrity and your company's reputation matter to you, just do more homework and about how you can utilize your company's policies to retain your old employees and not keep hiring and firing at will. So I want to ask you, have you ever had a job offer rescinded? Did you quit your old job for a new job, only to wind up on the street? What did you do about it? How would you advise this reader? I would just suggest, please, if you've been in these situations, just message me on Facebook, Let's Talk Careers with Sarah, and I will share that on the radio. So here's another question. Difficult job interviews tend to be grueling, and I never get offers. I have discovered that interviews which end up in a job offer are short, and I come away wondering why they didn't ask me hard questions. And that's how I got my current job. The managers made their decisions right there and then. I expect to get an offer from another recent interview that went just as well, and I will probably turn it down. They didn't actually say so, but the message was clear. They're definitely interested and they seem hopeful I'll accept a job. Another example, I got my previous job when my manager made the decision during the phone interview while I was 2,000 miles away. My on-site interview was about an hour and ended up in an offer on the spot. In contrast, after recent discussions with iconic company known for its difficult interviews, I realized that I would have to neglect my current job, which I love, to make preparations to interview successfully. Even though the company has exciting technology that excites me, I shut down the process. The latest company that wants me has technology as interesting as the iconic company. They are not well known, but they are very certain about why they want to hire me. It pays to look for gems like this. So I am concluding that if someone has decided they're interested in you, the interview will be pretty easy and the offer will come quickly. If they are not interested, they might throw some difficult questions your way to reveal your incompetence. At the iconic company, they kept asking questions after questions until I couldn't answer. Then they say to one another, obviously this is not a good candidate. He couldn't answer a basic question. I don't want to work for people like that. What do you think of my observations? So, for this person who is writing for me, you've pointed out a very interesting phenomenon in hiring that seems to sail over most people's heads. And some hiring decisions happen quickly, and the interviews are smooth. What makes an interview go so well? But I think everyone gets so wrapped up in an interview game that they totally ignore an even more important question. Why? Why do interviews happen? That is why. Why is interview happening at all? We can break this down into two more specific questions. Why did the employer choose this candidate? And why did the candidate choose the company? So I think there are several answers, and they reveal the stark difference between employers who know what they are doing and those that are clueless about recruiting and hiring. It's all about what happens way before the interview even gets scheduled. When job seekers and employers choose one another for the right reasons, interviews seem easier and job offers materialize quickly. But I don't have to tell you this doesn't happen effortlessly. So I find that employers that hire quickly and decisively make most of these 5 steps before they conduct interviews. In fact, they take these steps before they even contact any candidates. Number 1, the employer decides where to find the right candidates. These trusted sources might be other people, organizations, specialized pools, or communities, or even publications. The candidates list is not generated by algorithms, job boards, or databases. Thus, only high likelihood candidates are ever interviewed. Okay? Number 2, the employer decides what outcomes it wants from the hire. So, it pre-selects people who are able to deliver outcomes, not qualifications or keywords on resumes. These candidates are not surprised by the criteria and interview questions, and the meetings go smoothly. Number 3, The employer understands that specific skills are not the objective in selecting candidates. The main objective is to hire someone with the ability to ride a fast learning curve without falling off. That is the right candidate, someone that is who can learn whatever is necessary to get the work done. You don't find that on a resume or in a job application. And of course, there are prerequisites, but most of the time these can be verified prior to even contacting the candidate. Now, number 4, the employer vets candidates before it contacts them. It does its background research in advance by turning the trusted sources of good information. And I'm not talking about background checks. I'm talking about referrals, recommendations, and first-hand knowledge about the person. Thus, only high likelihood candidates who can readily address the employer's needs are ever recruited or interviewed. Number 5, the match is made mostly in advance. The employer is already more than halfway there on the hire before the interview happens because it already knows a lot about the candidate. The interview is not the main assessment, it's confirmation. The chance of a quick hire skyrockets. So, good candidates don't come in a grab bag. It's no accident or coincidence that this approach to hiring mirrors how good managers do other aspects of their jobs. A good interview is a good business. For example, an engineering manager doesn't design and build a new widget by dumping a grab bag of random parts of her team's desk. She and her team carefully research available parts and their manufacturers, confirm quality in advance, and lay out on their workbench only the parts they already have a lot of faith in. The same goes for picking people. Why are employers so game to buy a grab bag of applicants from LinkedIn or Indeed? This is not to say that a sharp manager with good insight can't identify a great candidate on the spot. When that candidate is essentially off the street with no background research done at all. In such cases, I think the manager has an unusual but absolutely critical grasp of exactly the kind of person they want. The manager recognizes that person when they appear, has the authority to move quickly, and acts decisively to make a quick offer. But I believe that most of the time when such a quick hire happens, it's because the real legwork has been done in advance. You have no doubt heard the old saw about a lawyer questioning a witness in court. Never ask the witness a question you don't already know the answer to. The same holds for job interviews, except most employers won't be bothered to do their homework about the candidate. When we say someone was wired for a job, what we really mean is the employer chooses carefully whom to interview in advance. The manager selects from a pool of thoroughly vetted people. That's why the right candidate winds up in the interview, and it's why the interview appears easy and the decision quick. So this has to be addressed. So when I'm going to suggest now about how to avoid broken interviews. So I think those offers came quickly to the reader that is sent me the question. So it's simply because he was the right candidate, and the typical rigmarole has been addressed to it. So interviews to have certain types of interviews are not necessary, and the employers just to have no idea that what exactly they want, on whom they are talking with, or how to assess the candidate. So a broken interview is marked by a canned, indirect assessment process that almost by definition isn't going to yield any helpful insight about the candidate. And as you already recognize, that kind of a rote assessment feels very painful and awkward. It's not a meeting of professional mind or discussion about the work. It's an interrogation. The process stretches out mercilessly because the employer never did the legwork, and when employers rely on such canned, indirect assessment methods, they feel they can justify holding in dozens of candidates they know virtually nothing about. And the assessment tool will reveal the best candidates for us. That's what they think. But no, it won't. It's a waste of time, and the interview is broken. Good managers help candidates to get hired. So this is why fewer candidates are better than lots. Any employer that's working through a big stack of resumes and applicants likely isn't sure what it really wants and is searching in the wrong places and sizing up mostly wrong candidates. Those interview questions that seem to get you hired quickly seem easy because the employer picked a candidate that can answer them. Why interview anyone else? This is why I teach hiring managers and also job seekers to talk with the candidate's professional cohort in advance. And while respecting privacy, of course, then I suggest managers contact their carefully selected candidates and coach them to interviews. Just like they coach their employees on how to do project at work, the manager has to want the person to succeed. Only worthy candidates will take the coaching. So what this means is employers should not interview anyone that they are not already excited about hiring. So the insight that the person have shared may seem trivial. I get hired when the interviews are quickly and easy, but the insights are profound. So let's go back to our two questions. Why did the employer choose this candidate, and why did this candidate choose their company? So if the answer isn't, we already know this person and job are a great match, then the interview will likely to go south because someone didn't do the necessary legwork. The job interview should be a chance to confirm a match, but a good match should be made in advance. When employers and candidates do the hard work of matching in advance, interviews seem easy and job offers are made quickly. So I want to say interviews are not easy. And if they seem to be easy, great. But if not, you need more coaching and more to be taught on. So I want to ask you, if you have a question about interviews and you don't know about certain types of answers, what to answer, message me on Facebook, Let's Talk Careers with Sara, and join my group, Let's Talk Careers Inner Circle. And you can email me, Let's Talk Careers with Sara at gmail.com. Now I don't have much time left, but I want to discuss about something short. Glassdoor salary data, and it is worse than useless. So one candidate wrote, I know you don't like Glassdoor salary survey data and employer reviews, but what are we supposed to use to base our salary negotiations on? So I'm talking about the job seekers, right? So if you ever use Glassdoor salary data to help you negotiate a job offer, did you wonder whether you might have undersold yourself? So according to a report in the June 2018 Wired magazine, you might have left an additional 69% on the table. So Wired tested samplings of self-reported Glassdoor salaries against options impact on a robust database of salaries reported directly by employers, and found glaring discrepancies. Option impact is published by Advanced HR for elite users, primarily venture capital firms and the tech companies they fund. These startups and the investors behind them can't afford to make a mistake when competing for top talent, so they consent to share up-to-date salary information that advanced HR checks regularly. So in other words, unlike Glassdoor, which makes money off its data whether it's accurate or not, Advanced HR has a reputation to protect among VCs and startups they run, and among the consultants and lawyers who serve them. So the Glassdoor myth that I'm forever astonished at how easily people rationalize irrational behavior. Job seekers generally acknowledge that salary data and employer reviews on the popular Glassdoor website are based and often funny. So the salaries are questionable at best because they are self-reported. The web is rife with stories about HR managers and employers posting fake reviews to balance spiteful reviews from disgruntled employees. Yes, I hear this all the time. Well, I know all that, but you can still get a good idea about the company and what it pays by looking through all the information. No, you can't. So if you know some of the data are valid but don't know which, then it's imprudent to trust any of it. Yet, job seekers and employers peg their salary negotiations to anonymous Glassdoor salary data as if it's a gold standard. Glassdoor itself is clear in its term of use that it doesn't stand by anything posted by users or employers. That is all its salary and company reviews. I'm going to stop right here because I'm running out of time. I am running out of time, so that will be another topic we'll discuss in my show perhaps next Wednesday. And I would like to say thank you for those who are listening to me. Thank you so much for doing your homework, by listening to experts like me about jobs, about resumes, and about how to be happy in a work environment. So I really want to say thank you again. So I'm going to see you next Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Armed Radio. Let's talk careers with Sarah.